going to our social media channels right now to talk about some severe weather that's moving into the area. We have some severe thunderstorm warnings associated with this squall line producing a ton of lightning. And this is going to be currently moving through Mobile County, and then it will continue to move through Baldwin County. Also, if you're in Clark County right now, in Washington County, you're getting plenty of lightning right now. This northern half of this squall line here is just going to inch into southern Clark County and then continue on east, and then eventually getting all the way over to I-65. We were tracking these storms all the way back in Mississippi and Louisiana. This storm system developed and started tracking our way. It's something that we expected to happen today, and here it is, and right in the afternoon hours it is going to be a bit of a disruption for many people, especially here in Mobile. So let's take a look at it now. I'm going to zoom in here into Mobile County. It looks like we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like they're just going to essentially blanket this entire area in a severe thunderstorm warning, because this band of storms that is currently moving through Mobile Regional Airport just got a wind gust of 46 miles per hour. These storms are producing wind, are producing a lot of lightning, and are producing a lot of heavy rain. So it's moving through Mobile right now. If you are in Mobile, Midtown Mobile, about to be in downtown Mobile, Midtown Mobile, you're getting the heavy rain right now. You're getting the lightning. So you're dealing with that. We're about to get the rain here at the Fox 10 studios, and then continuing on, that will be moving into downtown Mobile. I'm going to stop the animation here real quick, and we're going to kind of take a tour. I'm going to pull up the velocity product. What this is essentially measuring the wind in the atmosphere. Our radar is located at Mobile Regional Airport right here. We're shooting a beam out, and it's actually telling us how fast the little particles there are going. So I'm going to sample this real quick, and let's see. Remember, we had that gust to about 46 in Mobile Regional Airport. Some of the winds being measured by the radar behind this, 58 miles per hour. Now that's slightly higher in the air, but still some of that wind could be pushing down, and that is why we have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Let's take a tour down here. We're going to keep going down the line here. Moving down here into Jackson County and southern Mobile County, this bright green area is the area of stronger winds. Also notice the kind of concentrations of lightning. Areas where maybe the storm is just a little bit stronger. That will continue to push towards Mobile County and then towards the bay. People on the bay, there was just a special marine warning issued, and of course the severe thunderstorm warning issued there. That is going to be moving our way towards Grand Bay, Bayou La Battery, and Irvington along I-10. If you are on I-10, near I-10, I-65 exit, I think you need to be planning on possibly getting off and taking a pit stop for a moment, because these are going to be storms that are going to be extremely difficult, in fact impossible, to drive through. Let's switch back to radar here. Remember, this is radar. We're just detecting how heavy the rain is falling. Anywhere you see this red, you are looking at very, very heavy rain. And then I'm really interested in this big batch of lightning. There are going to be areas in this storm where there are a lot of lightning, and it will get loud. What we're going to do here, I'm going to zoom this out a little bit and see who else is in line here. Now we do have this secondary system, the secondary squall line band that is to our south, and this one is tracking towards the northeast. We're talking Dauphin Island, Gulf Shores, expected to see impact soon. I'm actually just looking, we had a gust of 45 knots along 98 near Notch Road, so that's in Sims. So once again, these storms are producing plenty of wind out there, quite a disruption for sure. If you're in Dauphin Island right now, you're just going to want to be inside, especially as this storm comes your way in the next couple minutes. Let's get a storm track on a couple of these. So the motion here, and we have just lost power. And that happens sometimes, and we talked about power outages. I do not know if we are still on, but that's what happens. And this is something that we're expecting across the area, and this is why we're on, because these are impactful storms that will be moving through the area. It looks like I still have connection here. So with that, we're going to continue on here. Looking at the storm track here, these storms are moving at about 50. All right, good. We are still on, so thank you for keeping it with us. These storms are moving at a pretty good clip, so I'm going to put this at about 50 miles per hour. Here's some of our arrival times here. Dauphin Island around 2:53 p.m. Gulf Shores around 3:15. So keep that in mind. If you're in Baldwin County, these storms are coming your way. Dauphin Island now, you're about to get into the heavier rain. Let's take a look at the wind measurements here in Dauphin Island. It looks like the Dauphin Island storms aren't as strong, the ones that are moving further inland. Reminder that the motion is more to the northeast here. And this little bright band of green, that is the area that has the stronger winds, especially on the leading edge of this. And that'll be moving through Dauphin Island very soon. Now some lightning popping up there. Let's continue north. Mobile County, like I said, we just had a power outage here. Our power just flickered here at Fox 10. So we're located about right here. So take a look at this wind velocity. Take a look at that. Let me take a query on that to see these bright colors. Anytime you're seeing the brighter colors in our wind velocity product, the brighter colors indicating stronger winds, and the color green versus red. The green, the wind moving towards the radar, which is located right here. So the wind moving towards the radar, and then now that the storms have passed Mobile Regional Airport, the wind moving away from the radar. 55 miles per hour, and this isn't that far off the ground. So let's zoom in real quick. If you are currently located in along Airport Boulevard, that is west of I-65, take a look at this. University here, a campus, the University of South Alabama, getting plenty of wind and heavy rain right now. That'll be keeping on moving to the east. Grelot Road at Medal of Honor Park. Hillcrest Road here, just past Providence Hospital, getting plenty of heavy rain right now. If you are on I-65, now is your time to be finding a place to stop, because it is going to get pretty nasty. The shops at Bel Air and then McGowan Park, where we are here at Fox 10. And take a look at the camera. Where is this? This is outside our studios. Remember, we just had the power flicker. And take a look at that, the trees blowing in the wind. This is what we're dealing with. This is why it's so hard to drive in this kind of stuff. Look at the visibility even with that camera. It's not a lot. So it's really a challenge, especially if you are driving. This is downtown, and there you go. This is, I believe that's looking south. That is incredible. Like you said, if that's there, you're going to have to be dealing with a lot of stuff if you're on the roads. It's quite a disruption this afternoon, but it's something that we expected. So we're going to keep tracking these storms for you here. Once again, very strong winds being measured by the radar. Let's see, 46. 70. Now, it's not guaranteed that we're getting 70-mile-per-hour winds at Grelot Road, but there is a possibility that we could be getting gusts to maybe around 50, 60. This is why there's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. And I'm going to swap real quick to the warnings to show you what the polygons are right now. Here we are, and if you are in these polygons, that's the place where you need to take action, meaning you need to be able to find yourself inside in these kinds of thunderstorms, because they are very potent. Here we are in Mobile, one severe thunderstorm warning now stretching to the Escambia counties, Escambia County, Alabama, and Escambia County, Florida. And let me get the time on that one to be sure here. It looks like that warning is going until 3:30. And for all the way up until Escambia County here in Florida. And then we have another warning here that was issued earlier. This one also until 3:30, now including areas like Gulf Shores, Foley, Fairhope, Daphne, Spanish Fort, and then the northern warning, Bay Minette and onward. So if you are in Baldwin County, you need to be preparing yourself to deal with these strong storms, and you can see how impactful it is, as we saw in our cameras. Now we're even hearing thunder here, which is something that we expected. Really quickly, I'm going to throw. So we have a severe thunderstorm warning right here in the orange. And the pink here, this is a severe thunderstorm watch. This came out a little bit before the storms made it to our area, back when the storms were over here, because we wanted to give you forewarning. The National Weather Service said, all right, we know that these storms are moving to our area, so let's go ahead and get the watch out. And that's why you have to pay attention to those things. It's really good information, so make sure that you are staying with us and checking out our app for updates and stuff, because we always push these out. We push these out on our social media. If you pay attention to social media, follow us on our social media pages, and you can see, wow, and you can see the watches and warnings as they come in. This is downtown. This is incredible. So look at the sheets of rain here in downtown Mobile. This is the stuff that's impossible to drive through. I mean, you can barely see the towers there, and the visibility is so limited there, and plenty of raindrops on there. Now looking at a different direction here downtown. This is towards I-10. So in fact, you can barely see the lights, and that's the thing. A lot of times you kind of need to pull over in these cases, but you have to be careful. Make sure you're keeping your lights on, because it is really hard to see anybody there. This is a complete loss of visibility here across Mobile. I'm going to check the radar one more time. We're going to swap back to the radar set here, and let's see what we're dealing with in Mobile. I'm going to zoom this in real quick. So Mobile right now, downtown, is in the heat of all the heavy rain. The bright reds, bright oranges that we talk about here, 165 and then 65 and then I-10, anywhere in that area in Mobile, now dealing with the heaviest rain. Even continuing north along 43 in Saraland and continuing north here, plenty of heavy rain all the way up to Mount Vernon and continuing up into Washington County. This is the storm that is moving to the east. Stockton, Tensas, and Bay Minette, you will be dealing with even heavier rain. Bay Minette, even heavier rain than you're dealing with now as the main part of the squall line gets to you here. Now moving this thing to the south. Once again, the possibility of some very strong winds here. A couple of different samples of the velocity, and we have some extremely strong winds now, pretty much over the battleship right now. I know we have the battleship camera. I do not know if we could see that, because that would be really interesting. My goodness. I don't know if I can actually tell what's going on here, but so this is looking towards downtown, my goodness. So you notice the sheets of rain. You can see almost the camera's shaking. That's what we're dealing with here. And if I switch to my velocity product here, looking at the camera here, you can see the sheets of rain going through. Look at this, the shaking here. We're starting to get the parking lot a little bit more revealed as the heavier stuff moves out. Here is the sample. I'm going to sample this from the radar, and this is telling me that over the bay right now we're getting around 70-mile-per-hour winds according to our velocity product. So this is a very possible thing that we could be seeing some very, very, very strong winds. If you're on I-10, the Bayway, and this, so take what here? This is Daphne. We're looking east, so from Daphne, looking east. If it's possible, can we pan this camera up very slightly? If not, that's okay. But likely what you're seeing here, some striations in the cloud here, probably a shelf cloud or something. And then in this area, this block is the heavy rain and wind. And looking at the traffic on I-10, there is quite a bit there of traffic on I-10. So those people will need to be getting off I-10. In fact, the people driving westbound right now, they're about to go through a very tough time because that will be a difficult drive for sure. As long as you keep it slow, in fact, if you're on the Bayway, that's a difficult situation for sure, because you're just going to have to keep it as slow as you can. Make sure you keep your lights on and just stay safe until some of the main stuff passes. Here we are, this is back to the battleship camera, complete shaking and very strong winds. Now looking down at the parking lot there, very strong winds, the sheets of rain. In fact, the shaky signal here as well. Very heavy rain moving through. Take a look at the sheets of rain going on in the parking lot there. Look at the flag even blowing in the wind. Very, very, very strong winds here. Now looking back at the Fox 10 studios. So this is a little bit further back behind the line, behind the main part of the line. But look at it, you can tell that there were strong winds just by how kind of beaten the leaves look on the trees a little bit here up top, and still wind going on. The wind will continue for a little bit after the main part of the line gets through you. Here we are. This is the velocity product. Remember, we're measuring wind. Wind moving away from the radar, which is located there at the airport. So wind moving to the east, blowing from the west to the east. Velocity product now over pretty much I-10 and or just south of I-10 over the bay, around 70 miles per hour. So if you are in Spanish Fort Bayfront Park, we're talking about Lake Forest here, you are about to get impacted by these very strong winds. This is a point where you probably want to be inside. And you can maybe take a look at it from the window, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend more just sticking inside for this one because there are some very strong winds. Once again, severe thunderstorm warning. And this is what we mean by severe thunderstorm. Winds greater than 55 miles per hour, essentially. And that is exactly what is happening here. A very potent storm now here. I'm going to clear this off and we're going to take a look at the radar and see what we have, a bigger picture here. If you are in Fairhope, you have a little bit of time before the rain gets to you if you're here on 98. If you're on 98, maybe pull over for a little bit or go ahead and find yourself at your destination or a gas station at some point just to let this thing pass. If you're in West Mobile, far West Mobile right now, I'm talking like Big Creek Lake, now you're calming down quite a bit. Even if you're west of 65 here at the university, probably calming down a little bit, but still plenty of lightning. Also notice the kind of uptick, in lightning here over the delta. That'll be moving around 31 here in north of I-10 there in Baldwin County. And I believe this is the Daphne cam. And now this is that line that has gotten to Daphne, and here we are with plenty of strong winds. Look at the pine trees here. Now the pine trees, they blow pretty easily. If we've been down here for a while, you know that. And here they are blowing. I couldn't tell you how strong those winds are exactly. If we're in Daphne, I'm going to use the velocity product here on my computer just to see what we're doing here. So you can see these bright reds and green, that's strong wind. I'm going to switch products here. Flipping in between these two, 60, and then there's a little bit of drop off here, 50. So once again, severe thunderstorm winds. That's what we're expecting. And those will be moving into Daphne, probably making their way in, and that is what that looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what that looks like. So expect that if you're in Baldwin County now, moving in for the next few minutes, and then it's going to last for a little while as the main part of the line comes through. Once again, the big blowing here of the pine trees, very, very strong winds. If you're on 98 right now, you definitely need to be finding yourself in some kind of building in order to keep just keep out of this, because you do not want to be driving in this at all. And I know we are sitting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, so it is quite busy out there. But the camera really shaking, very strong winds now moving into Daphne. Let's stay with this for a second because I know the main part. This is the best thing that we can show you in terms of what is going on. This is what you're going to be expecting with these thunderstorms. Now, is every single part of the line exactly like this, where it's a very heavy sheets of rain? No, not exactly, but a majority of it, especially near the Daphne area, that is the area that we're looking at for some very, very heavy rain. Let's take it back really quickly to the radar system. I want to kind of give a bigger picture of what's going on. Squall line, pretty much to the extent of Mobile County and even extending up into Washington County. Probably heavy rain now and strong winds getting into Jackson. That'll be moving into Clark County and then Monroe County and then Connecticut County, Escambia County, Alabama, Escambia County, Florida. Notice up here we don't have the severe thunderstorm warning. In this yellow polygon, we had the severe thunderstorm warning. Gusty winds, severe winds. That's the difference. And this is the area that we were talking about, those very strong winds. It'll be moving through Baldwin County and eventually into our Escambia counties here. Now let's look a little bit further south. Remember I talked about this second line that's kind of colliding with the first one here, moving into Gulf Shores. This is South Fairhope, kind of the Marlowe community. Fairhope and then Foley, continuing off to pretty much the northeast. So these boundaries are going to be pretty much colliding with each other here as they move across Baldwin County. And of course, we'll be watching that carefully. Plenty of lightning south in the Gulf of Mexico. If you're in Gulf Shores right now, you're maybe getting some light rain, but you're going to expect a brief period where there is much heavier rain and much stronger wind. That'll be moving through shortly. Let's get some storm tracks on here real quick, and I'll have to get the information on the motion of the warning, but it definitely looks like there's a lot of strong wind with this. I think we were sitting at about 50 miles per hour or so. Let's get this track here for the Baldwin County storm. The northern Baldwin County storm tracking to pretty much the east at around 50 miles per hour. Bay Minette at 305, so pretty much now is where we're having strong winds, plenty of lightning, and plenty of rain moving through. J, Florida at 3:50, and then at 3:59 here in Milton. You're outside of the severe thunderstorm warning, but this thing is likely going to hold together. So we're going to be keeping track of that for sure. Once again, very heavy rain moving through a canal over the bay. That is going to be entering Fairhope. If you're down at the Fairhope Pier, you're getting quite a view right now, possibly even a shell cloud out there. That's what I would be expecting with just a storm system that is this potent. So we're going to keep this going here. Plenty of lightning moving off to the east. Let's take a look at this southern storm. Moving about northeast at around pretty much the same miles per hour. So these are approximate times. I'm approximating this a little bit. Gulf Shores around 308. That's a little bit of extra time for you. 308 for not necessarily the strongest storm, but definitely a storm that is stronger that'll be moving off to the northeast. If you're in Fairhope, you might get lucky where you just get a little bit less wind. It looks like the winds maybe aren't as strong. What we're looking for is the Boeing segment here, which is more focused towards Daphne, Spanish Fort north. But it looks like maybe in Fairhope you're dealing with a little bit less in terms of just some very heavy rain, and maybe gusty winds, not severe winds. So we're going to take this storm track off, put this into motion, see what's going on here. So this is a longer loop, and we can see this complex has continued across our area, and it will be keeping on going for the next little while. Mobile County now entering into Baldwin County, and this is going to continue on into our counties here in the Florida Panhandle. Really quickly, I'm going to continue on here. Once again, here are the polygons. Severe thunderstorm warning, all continuing to move east. And let's get to the Futurecast. I haven't checked how this thing is running, but here we are. Futurecast is the IBM graph model. This is a high resolution model that runs pretty much every hour, I'm pretty sure, where we're getting the depiction of what's going on. That is going to continue off to the east, and then by this evening, thankfully, we are clearing out a little bit, but there is a next round of storms that we are expecting into early Sunday morning. But for now, let's continue back here, and we're going to go back to the radar and the radar picture here. Let's get you a little bit of tracking on where these storms are now. Now in Daphne, entering the Malbis area, the Eastern Shore Shopping Center there, all the shops there, the Diverging Diamond there for 181. They're about to get some heavy or strong winds. Daphne High School, probably now in the strong winds. South on County Road 13, some of the apartment complexes and communities there. If you're in Lake Forest, you are really dealing with some strong winds and heavy rain right now. Of course, plenty of people in the Lake Forest community. You can see the bright reds as this thing moves off to the east. Probably the trees moving around quite a bit, also pretty noisy there. And it looks like, thankfully, we don't have a ton of lightning with this section of the storm. It looks like it's kind of hanging further back. And as these storms move on, they will see that the lightning might hang back for a while. We might get a Boeing segment that pushes out, and then we might get some redevelopment. And that's just how these storms work. So right now, the strongest segment of this storm, pretty much between Spanish Fort High School and Daphne High School, moving off to the east right along I-10. If you're on I-10, I'd recommend a stop at Buc-ee's. There you go. You can take a stop there, hang out for a little while as this storm moves through, because it will be getting to that area very shortly. Now, if you're on 59, Baldwin Beach Express, that you'll be dealing with this shortly as well. It's 307 right now. In a few minutes, Robertsdale, Somerdale, you'll be dealing with some heavier rain. Fairhope just now getting in to the heavy rain, point clear as well. Daphne, you are in it right now for sure. County Road 13, County Road 181, if you're traveling northbound, southbound, you have maybe a couple seconds, couple minutes, but then this thing is going to be right on you, and with some heavy rain and gusty winds for sure. Back in Mobile, so we're on the back half of this now. The rain's calming down a little bit. Finally, some lighter rain now, at least getting to the airport. Probably still a little bit breezy out there. There's a little bit of heavy rain. You're still dealing with some lightning, hearing some rumbles of thunder. I-10 now probably getting a little more operational in terms of being able to actually move, but still some definitely heavy rain out there. That has now moved. Pretty much the main severe threat is almost out of Mobile County. In fact, if you are in our Mississippi counties, pretty much an all clear for you for right now. It is just going, and also if you are in far northwestern Mobile County, you can expect that that is going to be clear. I'm talking Citronelle, Trentula, and Wilmer. You are pretty much all clear. But I want to flip over here. Look at northern Baldwin County, Stockton and Bay Minette. This is 65 shooting across here. Plenty of lightning. This is probably one of the more active lightning parts of this storm here, and that is going to continue moving off to the east. And here we are, Mobile, Daphne. Here's our storm moving off to the east at around, I think it's 50 miles per hour, really booking it across the area. And this is why we've been pulling these storms so fast. Fairhope, Gateswood, Seminole, Molino, some of the locations impacted if you're along I-10. If you are in Molino, we're talking around 346. So these storms are moving at a pretty good clip for sure. And if you're in this area, you can expect quite some heavy rain. And here is the Daphne camera. So now in Daphne, we're dealing with kind of the back half of the heavy part. Thankfully, not a ton of people on the roads, but you can see a lot of ponding on the roadway, so making driving a little bit difficult there. So keep it slow for sure. And then here we are. You can see just like, especially as a puddle right there. And also you can kind of see somewhat of the sheets of rain still going on. Thankfully, not as windy as it was probably when the onset of this storm came through. So plenty of rain, plenty of wind. This is just kind of happens. This is a severe thunderstorm. We get these somewhat regularly here on the Gulf Coast. It's nothing crazy, but it is just impactful, and it'd be good to keep you updated here on what's going on and kind of track this through, let you know what's happening. I'm going to take another storm track real quick here for these storms. And if I can get the computer to cooperate here. Also, I want to note, look at all the lightning along I-65, now stretching into Atmore. There are a couple storms that are ahead of the line that have been kind of shooting northeast, and there they are. And I'm going to put a storm, here, you can take that. Jason Smith is now joining us here in studio, and he is now taking control of the radar. So there we go. So strong line storms moving east. So especially in a few minutes, if you're on I-10, especially in the exit where the Buc-ee's exit is, you have about 10 minutes, I would say, about to where that is. Loxley here at 311 is currently 310, so it's right on your doorstep for sure. 31 here, now getting a lot of lightning. And then also this is just north of Spanish Fort there. And then Bay Minette as well, and plenty of lightning as well. So Daphne, Fairhope, well, the situation there right now is heavy rain and likely some gusty winds, especially in downtown Fairhope. Now you can tell this is kind of that band of the brightest rain and likely the strongest wind. If we swap to the velocity product down here, we can see where that strong wind is for sure. And my goodness, that is way up there on the scale. So likely some strong winds moving through. And we noticed that, there you go. Sorry, that was a little bit of a loud query there. I will pull the query up here. And you can see the timing on the severe thunderstorm warning here. We're talking 2:56 until 3:30. So plenty of time there for this to go. It is currently 3:11. So really quickly, I wanted to query the speeds there. 65 miles per hour for your velocity here in Fairhope. This is pretty much, I think that is 104. So pretty much moving eastward. Plenty of wind there. Velocity is 69 miles per hour just south of Malbis on 181 there. And then there's a few communities and houses there. So likely you're just dealing with gusty winds and some very strong winds and disruptive winds for sure. Fairhope, it looks like this thing is held together pretty well. So you're likely getting some strong winds now. That's going to continue off if you're east on County Road 32. That will continue. And here on 181, then County Road 13, 98 currently getting plenty of rain there. We're talking J. Larry Newton School, Fairhope Middle School, Fairhope High School there getting a lot of the rain. Continuing east, if you're along Fish River here, you're about to see some of the heavier rain, especially because this is kind of the joint where this southern line of storms has been moving north, and then this northern or northeast, and this northern line of the storms has been moving east. So here, plenty of heavy rain and likely some very heavy rain here in the southern part of Fairhope there, and some of the nice houses getting towards the Lakewood community south of Grand Hotel there. Plenty of rain for sure. If you're in Magnolia Springs, you're about to get a heavy downpour for sure. Foley, if you're at the Tanger outlets, you have a couple minutes before we get some heavy rain for sure. 59, Summerdale, Robertsdale, few minutes until you get the heavy rain. If you're in Mobile, we're getting all clear, thankfully. It looks like the storms are beginning to calm down there, and the lightning's beginning to calm down there. So taking a look at the storm track here, Robertsdale at 322, 330 in Foley here. And once again, look at the banding or the bowing on this segment here. It's very strong. So Robertsdale, you can expect some pretty strong winds for sure as this thing tracks across Baldwin County. Here we are, Stapleton, probably very strong winds there. Loxley as well. Lightning, a big cluster of lightning there just north of I-10. That is going to be tracking off to the east. These are approximate times, but around 323, Gatewood, Elsinore around 326. Just know that you have a few minutes before this thing gets right to you. Fairhope, notice how fast these storms are moving. The main part of heavy wind is now pretty much getting almost to the east of downtown Fairhope, at least. Probably still dealing with some heavy wind and rain, but in the next few minutes you will start to calm down, thankfully, here. And here's tracking it here with north of Fish River here, 48, and this is 32, this is 181. So if you're on 181, some of these communities here, some of the nice subdivisions here, plenty of wind, plenty of rain there. Continuing towards more Silver Hill here, Silver Hill and Robertsdale. You're about to get, if you're in Silver Hill, expect some wind on County Road 49 here, 55. Getting up to Loxley on County Road 59, there we are. Plenty of wind and rain. And then the exit at I-10. Plenty of rain there. I'm sure driving on I-10 is a little difficult through this section. Anywhere between Malbis and the Loxley exit and pretty much the Bucky's exit over there, dealing with plenty of heavy rain for sure. There's some lightning associated with this. Thankfully, I had the thought earlier watching these storms track through Mississippi that there was the possibility of some more robust lightning. And yes, there is robust lightning, but thankfully in Fairhope and Daphne, it looks like that lightning's calmed down ever so slightly. Also, great view here of the polygons here. You can see the one polygon here with this our severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in this polygon, you need to be prepared and be prepared to go inside as these storms move our way. Plenty of lightning as well. This is not a time to be out. And this is the camera. Wow, look at all the heavy rain. I-10 and 59 there in Baldwin County. And this is like at the Loxley exit there. And look at the lights shaking there. Very difficult driving condition. You can tell, see how slow everybody is moving because you have to move slow in these situations. And also because of the ponding on the water, it is just a difficult driving situation. And the best thing to do is, if you can, pull over so that you can just sit it out for a little while. And then also, so we do have Jason Smith in here with us, and he is tracking the storms with us now.
That's right. I should have a mic on here.
Yep.
I'm over in the Weather Center, keeping an eye on this as well. And Nicholas, you know, what you've been showing there, what we were seeing, definitely some very, very windy situation going on across the Gulf Coast here. This gusty wind along this severe thunderstorm line here. And driving in, it was just terrible. I mean, if you are thinking about going out on the interstate right now, change your plans because we have very heavy rain coming down along with winds that are gusting to definitely at this point severe thunderstorm force. We've had winds over 70 miles per hour with this. We got a lot of limbs down, a lot of small trees down, and this has made it through Mobile, and you can see it moving there. It is tracking on off to the east in the direction of the Florida Panhandle with the heavy rain and the wind. And don't expect this to last all evening long. By 5 or 6 o'clock we may be totally done with this, but severe thunderstorm warnings continue as we get over into Santa Rosa County. Looks like Escambia County, Florida, as well as Baldwin County under that severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to stay in effect for the next hour. And this thing is moving at 50 miles an hour, as Nicholas was telling you, so a very fast advance with this thunderstorm complex. And there are two areas where we're seeing this line bowing out. Let's take the radar full and I'll show you these two key areas here. And first of all, we've got an area that's bowing out down around Gulf Shores, and so we can see some very gusty winds here down near Gulf Shores. And what we mean by bowing out, I'm going to go ahead and pause or stop the radar here, and where you see the signature right there around Gulf Shores, where this cell, and I'm drawing it out with my cursor here, you can see it bowing there. And so you have the potential for gusty winds anywhere you have a bowing signature. This gusty wind situation is bearing down on Orange Beach and Lillian. It'll be in the Lillian area shortly at 3:36, Pensacola by 3:51. So we've got very, very gusty winds going on there. Then also further to the north, we've had some amazing winds here. This is not just your average situation with the severe thunderstorm. We've got a report of roof damage in Daphne, and the weather station in downtown Mobile just had a gust to 63 miles an hour. So this is more than just your average severe thunderstorm here. This one is definitely verifying and tracking that gusty wind with about a 50 mile per hour or so forward speed. That's going to have it in the Gateswood community at approximately 3:24. So that's very soon. I mean, you can see it right now. It's coming through Summerdale and crossing around Steelwood Lake, and it'll be out near Gateswood on 112 by 3:24, Seminole by 3:39, Molino by 3:43, Milton, and then Munson by 4:15. So we're looking at a very active line here, and we've had reports of damage. We've got reports of limbs down, trees down. Now do a little bit of a radar tour along this line just to show you who's getting the leading edge. You can see Gulf Shores about to hit Orange Beach, headed for Perdido Bay. If you know anybody who's out and around Perdido Bay right now on Lillian, they need to get their boat out of the water and get it on a lift and get it on land here, because it's just a crazy thunderstorm that's racing over, and it will be in the Pensacola area in about 45 minutes. Summerdale and Robertsdale, you're getting hit right now. Loxley, very heavy rain. It looks like around 112 at Gateswood. You're next. This is tracking towards Escambia County. Further north, Bay Minette, super heavy rain, some gusty winds. And looking at the velocity product here, as we're looking at very, very gusty winds that are going on in the area here. And where we see these little yellow and orange signatures here, we got wind, there you go, 72 miles per hour on the velocity. It's not as windy right now in Bay Minette as it is around Gateswood, but look at that velocity maximum there of 81 miles per hour. So these are really strong velocity readings here, giving us a good idea of what's going on with these winds as this is all tracking on off to the east. And the travel situation right now is pretty much terrible. We are looking at very slow moving travel, Interstate 10, Interstate 65. It's dangerous on the roads. It's beyond just ponding on the road race right now. Also the potential for hydroplaning on these roadways because the puddles are getting so deep out there that you're having to work through, and a lot of the cars that are having to drive through this are going through with their flashers on, with their emergency hazards on. Now in Mobile, we're already looking better. So the worst of it's over with in Mobile. The worst of it's over with in Jackson, George, and Greene counties. We've still got residual rain, but very heavy thunderstorms ongoing right now from northern Baldwin County down through Bay Minette, down to Fairhope, Foley, and Gulf Shores, all in this line headed to the east at approximately 50 miles an hour. And we're going to continue to see this as an issue ahead of this line. Let me loop it for you, and this is a 30-minute loop right here, so I'm going to put it in gear and you'll see it playing here. In the last 30 minutes, it's made it from Daphne to past Robertsdale and Loxley. I mean, just in 30 minutes, it's almost to Seminole. So in another 30 minutes, it's going to be on the west side of Pensacola. And so I'm going to be keeping an eye on this here from the Storm Tracker Center and maintaining what's going on radar. But Nicholas is on the chroma key wall here today as we're covering severe thunderstorms, really strong severe thunderstorms here on our social platforms this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's a good idea to come on here and talk about these things because they are impactful as these storms move through. It's disrupting your day, so it's something that we're trying to cover the best we can here, and especially when these storms are producing damage. We had the reports of damage there. We had the strong wind reports confirmed, measured by our weather instruments across the area. So here's a look at the polygons again. This is the new polygon issued for a warning that the National Weather Service just issued. I forget how long that one was going until. It looks like
got one until 4:15.
4:15
for the one across the panhandle, and this one is until 3:30 here, but I'll lead it a little more and we'll see if we can get this one. This is the 4:15 with the considerable threat here.
And tell you what, I can actually, let me pull the radar here real quick. I'm going to take control over here. And then let me quickly check that. There we go. There's that box that I needed. Okay. So 4:15 p.m. is this one for Escambia, now extending into Santa Rosa County in the Florida Panhandle here. So plenty of stuff going on for sure as these storms move through. Putting it back onto the loop and clearing this off. I mean, it's amazing how fast these storms have been racing through the area. Just in a short time, we've tracked this from when it entered Mobile County, pushed all the way through Mobile County, all the way across the bay, and now here pushing through Baldwin County with plenty of wind. And look at the bow here. This is a typical radar signature that we look at for severe thunderstorms. Strong winds associated on the leading edge here of this storm system. That'll be moving off to the east. Look at the lightning in Bay Minette, plenty of it continuing down. Now 59 getting towards maybe the Baldwin Beach Express as it goes north. You're dealing with it. If you're in Gulf Shores, you just had the rain. Now you're dealing with the lightning a little bit. Behind the leading edge of the storms, you're dealing with a little bit of that lightning, and that's kind of a typical signature as well. And it's incredible to see these two lines coming at us. Gateswood community now getting into Escambia County, Alabama, or Escambia County, Florida. So this very strong segment of storms moving off to the east. If you are in Spanish Fort now in Malbis, down 98 in Baldwin County, along the eastern shore, you have now calmed down in terms of your weather. Now just dealing with some lighter rain, but this is going to continue to push off towards the east now into Escambia County, Florida. So we're going to keep track of these here. I'm trying to check the NWS chat. I think we have a bit of a glitch on the chat there, Jason. I'm not sure exactly what's happening there on that page. But these storms are continuing to move off to the northeast. Well, once again, plenty of lightning here. And let me look at the velocity signature here. If I go to the current radar picture. So once again, if you're just joining us, we've been showing this a little bit today. This is the wind velocity product, and it essentially shows us a great picture of how strong some of these winds may be. I'm flipping through a couple of versions of the same product, and you can see in these bright reds here, on the bright pinks, that is very strong winds of even up to around 58 miles per hour. And as we've seen, as we've been pixel querying some of these, the winds are almost stronger, and we've seen that on the ground with some reports there. So that'll continue moving off to the east. Seminole, Alberta, you'll be now dealing with those storms, the strong wind for sure. Plenty of lightning now in Fairhope. That's north of Fish River there. If I zoom into that one, north of Fish River, here's 181, here's County Road 9 and County Road 28, so you're dealing with a lot more lightning now. Robertsdale, County Road 55, the intersection of 32 and 55 there. Plenty of rain continuing off to the east. Robertsdale, Summerdale as well. And then that will continue on as you pass County Road 59 on 32 and continue on into Alberta, north of Alberta and north of Foley there. So plenty of stuff going on. And then taking a look wider picture here in the terms of this line, you can see the large expanse, and this is the area that we were talking about that has some of that stronger winds moving through a populated portion, or at least now a populated portion of Baldwin County for sure. Now Orange Beach, you're dealing with the stronger line here, getting into the Perdido area as well. So right along the beaches there, probably some strong winds there, some gusty winds for sure. Fairhope, Daphne, Mobile, Dawes, Grand Bay, Bayou La Battery, anyone in Mobile County, you are pretty much now all clear for the severe weather, and you can now begin to resume your activities. But if you're getting on the roads, I'd wait, because there's likely ponding on the roadways. There's probably stuff on the roadways. We had strong wind blowing through, so likely some debris on the roadways, some small, at least tree branches and stuff, and that'll be continuing off. These impacts will be continuing off to the east here as we get into Escambia County, Florida. Pulling back a little bit, so Escambia and Santa Rosa County, Florida, you will be the next ones to be dealing with these storms. If you were in Pensacola, in Milton, in Molino, and Seminole, you will be dealing with these storms as they move off to the east. Pensacola Bay, Escambia Bay as well. And it looks like the storm motion on these, according to the warning, I think it's still around 50 miles per hour. If I'm not exactly sure about that. We're going to pull up the text of that warning real quick, and it looks like Jason's pulling that up now for us. And it looks like, I can't remember, I think it was around 50 miles per hour, because these things are moving at a fast clip here. And those will continue right into Santa Rosa and Escambia counties here in Florida. Let's take a look at the velocity here.
Well, we just had an update too here as we look at it. Damaged trees around County Road 27, 3 miles south of Highway 90. So that's going to be in Baldwin County. And also Daphne area reporting power outages and light to moderate tree damage in Daphne right now. So we are looking at amazing winds that have been going on here in Baldwin County, and this is problematic. Looks like anywhere around County Road 87, Highway 90, Greek Cemetery Road, getting out on the Elsinore area, Seminole, seeing winds that could be gusting around 75 miles an hour right now. As you can see that Nicholas is identifying some of those key areas. So we're getting gusty winds, and this is something we saw coming. If you were watching Fox 10 News the last couple of days, we're talking about the possibility of a cluster of showers and storms coming through Saturday afternoon. The Fox 10 Futurecast was really very accurate with this, what we were showing the timing on this line. And unfortunately, it is moving through the area from west to east, so a lot of areas are getting hit really hard as it's racing to the east. By dinner time, it'll be a thing of the past, other than whatever limbs and trees are down and whatever light to moderate damage that we have in the area. The storm itself should be east across the Florida Panhandle. And I'll switch it back over to reflectivity here. This is that line, and it's still showing the potential for gusty winds, a widespread wind event going on in our area. And I want to start near the coast, and we're just going to track it north. All right, right now it is cleared Perdido Pass with the leading edge, and it's bearing down on Perdido Key in the Floribama. This is the heavy portion of the line. It is coming across near Innerarity Point and crossing Perdido Bay now. Further to the north, Mifflin getting hit hard. Lillian, it's just about in Lillian now. In fact, we're already getting the gusty winds. The heaviest of the rain is between Lillian and Foley. It's right on top of Alberta now and County Road 87. Seminole, you have this bearing down on you, the Perdido River area, and crossing over towards Beulah and Cantonment. You are next. This will be here in a matter of minutes as this heavy line is racing along I-10. It is now raining heavily at Bucky's to 64, Wilcox to County Road 87, and all the way to the Florida Welcome Center. This will continue east there. Heavy rain and wind from near the Barno Park Bridge over to Molino on 29 and McDavid. Up to the north, the wind is not as bad to the north in and around Atmore, but we are getting heavy rain, a lot of lightning and thunder, and near the Porch Creek community tracking towards Flomaton and Bruton. So heavy rain there. The Huxford area also getting heavy rain, and the inland spots here, even Clark County getting this rain. It was questionable as to whether it would affect the inland areas at all. We definitely knew that the greatest severe potential was near the coast, but definitely seeing this here, and I've got it on a 1 hour loop. All right, this is in 1 hour, and I'm going to grab the radar and stop it. 1 hour ago at 2:31, this was bearing down on Mobile. And we take it forward 1 solid hour, and it's right on the Florida-Alabama line. In another hour, this could be almost to Crestview, Florida. That is how fast this is moving. 50 miles an hour, lightning, heavy rain, all tracking to the east, all along Interstate 10. And we're going to see a lot of this activity continuing on here. The severe thunderstorm watch is now no longer in effect for Baldwin County and also for portions of the area. It looks like it's extended for Baldwin, Escambia, and Santa Rosa, but it's been dropped for a number of other counties in the area. So the severe thunderstorm watch has been discontinued for Mobile County, our Mississippi counties, and it's only the counties that are along and ahead of this line that are essentially in the severe thunderstorm watch. And that's the primary threat with this. We're not looking at any areas of significant rotation. We do not see any specific tornado threats going on with the storm at this time, but it definitely has the potential of producing widespread damage and damaging wind gusts, with those wind gusts up around 70 miles an hour in our area today. Just some phenomenal wind going on. There is a core of heavy lightning going on now down around Orange Beach, and I'll put the loop on here and you can see this is that 1 hour loop. Look how fast it jumps into frame here with the radar, and then now up to the current situation, crossing Perdido Bay, crossing over into Florida, Pensacola. I'm going to do a little storm track here so you can see the timing on this from Escambia down to Santa Rosa County, with a forward speed at about 50 miles an hour. The severe thunderstorm warning is continued now until 4:15 p.m. for Baldwin and Escambia and Santa Rosa, with a considerable tag on it, which means that there's a considerable probability of seeing severe weather in our area with this warning here. And we are looking at that continuing on off towards the east as we go through the afternoon this afternoon through 4:15, and it may even be continued beyond that time. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning from this situation where it's 9 miles west of Molino to about 11 miles north of Lillian, and moving east at now 60. So it's picked up the forward speed here, a 60-mile-per-hour speed, and I'll update this fan here based on that 60-mile-per-hour speed. Hold on, let's back it off a little bit right there. Based on a 60-mile-per-hour speed to the east, basically due east, that's going to have it in Pensacola at 3:47. Current time is 3:34 p.m. So only about 12 minutes and it will be in Pensacola. And we had a trained weather spotter reporting a wind gusting to 60 to 70 miles per hour near Loxley, and Mesonet site near Loxley reported a wind gust of 58 miles per hour. Considerable tree damage, and damage is likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. These are all areas of concern as this is racing off in the direction of Molino and also towards Pensacola. I'll go back to our 1-hour loop here just so you can see the motion of this storm has very quickly come together. It will not take it very long to make it all the way across the Florida Panhandle and be out of the area, but the next hour to hour and 30 minutes will be really active for our viewers in along the Panhandle and also up into the Atmore area where we have that particular portion of the storm on more of the inland parts of the area. One thing that looks a little more promising, just checking out the current setup on radar now, is that we're not seeing quite as much of the bowing signature that we had earlier. So I'm going to switch it over to velocity and just identify there's still some amazing wind in the core of this storm, though, despite the fact that the structure of this storm has changed a little bit. And let me switch this up. Actually, I'll get it back over to our other query tool here, and you can see what's going on. Look at that, 83 miles an hour. I mean, Nicholas, this is almost like a derecho type event going on.
This is definitely a significant one of it. And Jason mentioned that this severe thunderstorm warning has a considerable tag on it. This is something that the National Weather Service has done to kind of stress certain situations. And this, whenever we see that with a severe thunderstorm warning, or whenever you might see a severe thunderstorm warning on social media, and if it says that considerable tag, this is what it means. Talking storms that are probably producing damage, or at least producing, according to velocity, or according to the radar, some very big impacts in terms of wind. So, and also that can apply to a storm that maybe is producing hail or something. But in this case, this is a considerable tag for the sake of wind. We're talking 73 miles per hour and 83 miles per hour. I'm going to swap products. There's a couple different versions of velocity that we can use, and I just want to check it with a different version just to see what the winds are here. And I'm going to query this. Even then, a near 70 miles per hour. So in the Seminole community, now moving into Escambia County, this is going to be plenty of stuff. If you are in Pensacola, you are about to be under the gun for some very strong winds. And also, look at this batch of lightning here that is in Wolf Bay and Lillian. That is going to be kind of tracking towards the east, maybe east-northeast, very near NAS Pensacola. And with this, you will be dealing with a loud thunderstorm, a very loud thunderstorm with plenty of wind, as we can see in the bright colors here, that is going to be moving through Pensacola. This could be an impactful thing for Pensacola. So if you are in Pensacola, you have a few minutes to get inside and stay inside. That is going to be the best course of action here, just so you can be comfortable. You know, you don't want to be outside in this at all, because whenever we have winds that are that strong, it can really be disruptive here. Let's take a sample, just a look at, I'm going to resample that. Strikes here, 174 in the area here, and especially because of that batch there. So that is something to keep in mind there for sure, with plenty, and I mean plenty, of lightning now occurring. So see this area, this bright area of wind. Probably in Foley, you might be still getting some strong winds. As we can see on the velocity product here, the stronger winds kind of carrying, and this is a good indication here, and this is kind of harder to tell, but you see this area of lighter precipitation there. It's probably still breezy, and that wind is probably feeding this section of the storm, which is going to probably, in the next few minutes, we'll see, it might be bowing out again. You can kind of start to see that here. If you are in Pensacola, North Pensacola, even in Milton, you will need, Ensley, you will need to be prepared for a brief period of some very, very strong winds here as the thing moves off to the east. And there was that considerable tag. That's what I was talking about. This is a considerable, impactful situation for us. The velocity at 82 miles per hour. This one might be, this velocity product might be exaggerating ever so slightly, but still, it is a very, very strong, the radar is measuring very, very strong winds for sure. Now moving into Escambia County, Florida. If you're in downtown Pensacola, you do have some time here, but be prepared for the possibility of some very strong winds within the next few minutes. Here, looking at the Pensacola Bay Bridge on the double box here, and you can see quite a bit of traffic out there, and this is going to be pretty impactful as this thing moves off to the east. A very, very strong band of heavy rain that's going to be moving into Pensacola, and there is a lot of traffic on the roads. If you can get to your destination in Pensacola, do so quickly, because you're not going to want to be out. It's not going to be completely it's not going to be the worst situation, but it is going to be a very bad situation in terms of you are going to have some difficulty driving around. And that's the thing that we're trying to keep you advised about here, keep you warned that this thing is coming your way. So here in Pensacola, arriving at 3:47 p.m. approximately. Navarre at 4:06, Milton at 3:56 here north of Pensacola, and then continuing on into Santa Rosa County, and then maybe even Okaloosa County, continuing on there as this strong storm system, it's a true squall line moving through the area right now. Seminole, Perdido, just east of Orange Beach here, plenty of lightning, plenty of rain, very heavy rain. And look at the increase in lightning now that we're seeing here. It is quite something here, with very, very heavy rain moving off to the east there. And then there we can see here, seeing the bright pinks even, very, very heavy rain for sure, moving off to the east. And we're going to put this into motion here. This is the 3-hour loop here, so you can see over the past 3 hours how fast this storm is moving off to the east. And that's the characteristic of a lot of these strong squall lines. They will have very strong winds that push themselves off to the east here. And then if we shorten the radar loop, we can see, and this is the past 30 minutes here, we can see, I mean, look at the track from Foley to the Baldwin County, Escambia County line in less than 30 minutes. It's an incredibly fast-moving system. If you are in Pensacola, be prepared for very heavy rain that will be moving in soon. Remember, we were also talking about these two bands. We had one that was kind of moving off to the northeast that was in the Gulf, and then we had this one that was moving across Baldwin County. It looks like now those have become a more solid line, and where they joined here, that's an area where we're seeing a lot of lightning, and really quite a bit of lightning being indicated here. This is just north of the pass there, getting off into Pensacola as you're driving in Pensacola along the coast there. If you're on 98, I'm sorry, getting into Pensacola, you are dealing with plenty of lightning right now, and that is going to be moving into downtown Pensacola within the next few minutes. So if you're on the roads, take your precautions now and try to get inside if you can. If you're like getting to your house right now, this is a run inside kind of situation to make sure that you're not getting soaked, because it's probably already raining lightly, but this is some very, very heavy rain and some very strong winds for sure. I'm going to switch it back to the the velocity product real quick, and we can see the progression. This bright red, pink, and white moving off to the east here. That's the area of strong winds that'll continue off to the east along I-10, along 90, along 98, just moving straight off to the east. NAS Pensacola, you'll be dealing with a lot of lightning very shortly. Downtown Pensacola, if you're in Gulf Breeze, you have a little bit of more time here, but still you'll be dealing with some heavy rain and gusty winds for sure. So once again, if you're in Seminole right now, you're dealing with very strong winds now into Lillian there. And if we go to the current picture, a very potent line of storms here. And I'm going to really quickly kind of pull back and do a bit of a reset here. It is currently 3:42 p.m. and if you give me 1 second here, at 3:42 p.m. here, and we are dealing with a squall line that has been moving through our area, something that we predicted, something that we knew was coming. We didn't know the exact strength of it, but we knew we would have plenty of thunderstorms for sure, some strong thunderstorms moving through, and that is exactly what has happened for sure. So as these storms move off to the east now in Escambia County, then Santa Rosa and Okaloosa County will be dealing with this next. So it is currently 3:43, almost 3:45. Across the area now, we are seeing light to moderate rain behind the main squall line. That is something that is very typical with these types of squall lines. You get a large area of precipitation that is light, and also you notice the lightning threat is not done. There's a whole bunch of lightning that is going on here, and that is, we can see it here if we turn on just the lightning product here. Plenty of lightning in the back, and then you can see very clearly where the squall line is there. And just checking out on the radar, just checking a few different products here. Plenty of lightning. It doesn't look like we're having any hail reports, which is good, thankfully, but just definitely some strong winds for sure. And some of our storm reports haven't come in yet, and those are those little icons there. We're waiting. I know we have had some storm reports there in Daphne, for example, but that'll be moving off. Those storms are moving off to the east, and we will get the population of those storm reports hopefully soon on the map. So here we are. It's 3:44. And we're on our social media channels here on Fox 10, dealing with a line of storms moving off to the east, plenty of lightning, plenty of heavy rain, and plenty of gusty winds. And let's get now into Pensacola, because here we are dealing with now the brunt of the system moving on in. And that's going to be a very impactful, it's going to be high impact for us as this system's moving off to the east. Plenty of lightning, plenty of heavy rain. So if you are in Pensacola right now that is moving in to your area, notice the batch of lightning behind the high reflectivity. We're talking about the reds, the heavy rain, all that moving off to east. Now NAS Pensacola getting into it. Let's zoom in a little bit more here into Pensacola. Downtown Pensacola now getting into it. East Pensacola Heights, the Knights communities there. Spanish Trail moving north, or continuing north there. 110, you're now dealing with it. Golding, Brent, Sanders Beach, all that moving off to the east. If you are in Wentz, Pensacola, we're talking Massachusetts Avenue, let's see, Jackson Street, all that, you are now where that line is getting to you, and you're beginning that heavy rain. That'll continue off to the east, and there we will be seeing high impacts in terms of wind and heavy rain for sure. So 110 right now, if you're traveling on 110, you will be dealing with some heavy rain for sure. And let's see here, so 110 continuing off to the east. So if you're in Pensacola, be prepared for some heavy rain moving through the area here in the next few minutes. Let's really quickly, before we wrap this up, I'm going to do one last check of the broader picture here. The broader picture showing a strong line of storms with heavy, strong winds moving through, now entering into Pensacola. We're going to wrap up our coverage here as this thing moves into Pensacola, but we'll be providing updates throughout the afternoon. And then, of course, we have plenty of damage reports across the area that we've seen so far, and plenty of reports of strong winds. So we will get those updates to you here on Fox 10. I'm Nicholas Herboso, Jason Smith in the studio here with me. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be keeping you updated in the next few minutes.